Okay, Marcio, here is the table that I created for you. It talks about the different structures of the family, so you're going to need this for the quiz. And I've color-coded them, so the blue are the macro level. Oh crap, I saw, ugh. Okay, let's try that again. Sorry. So I color coded them for you. You can see the blue are the macro levels, so that means the larger levels of society. Structural functionalists are the old school. They're from the 1940s. They mainly only focus on the harmony, the order, the utopia of it. And one of the criticisms of that then is that they're not focusing on the conflict theory. So then in the 1960s, the conflict theory came out, and the conflict theory is how struggling families or families that have that power dynamic we discussed last night, how those families interact. And that's the conflict theoretical perspective, and that theoretical perspective is another way to say a beginning. And then there are the set that have both the macro and the micro. And the macro and the micro there's a few of them. One is the feminist, and one of the characteristics of the feminist is that, it's dual purpose in that it takes both the societal impacts and the individual impacts. But however, one of the things that one of the criticisms is that it just assumes equality. It assumes equality is the utopia. And we kind of talked about this last night, where you're saying that power dynamics are actually important in a relationship. So it also is not widely accepted by males because it's very female-centered, and so that is also a criticism of that. And then, so some of the research questions that a feminist perspective would offer is, what role does gender play, and how do we create gender? If going back here, I'm new to this little platform. So for conflict theory, what would be the role of unemployment on a family? So it's looking at the conflict or, the larger scale societal issues and how those impact the family. So like race, how does race increase or decrease the resources available to the family? And let's see, I'm going to try to keep this short for you. Okay, so then you have there's two more that have both macro and micro involved, and one is the ecological. So that's Bronfenbrenner, and it's Yuri Bronfenbrenner. And one of the criticisms of that is just that it takes too much into account, and so basically if you don't understand all of it, then you're not going to get the whole picture. It also assumes that everyone is equal, or every aspect or every level is equal, and that may not be true either. So those are some of the criticisms involved with that. But it does take into effect the institutions and schools. So like maybe one of the research questions would be, why are children doing better in one school than another? Or why are children in Illinois doing better in school than Wisconsin? Different things like that. So it definitely takes into effect both small and large systems. However, it predominantly may take too many things into effect, and so those are the criticisms involved there. Then you have the developmental aspect of the family systems theory. The developmental theory is basically how things change over the life course. So, like, how does a marriage change over a child's life course? How does a child's life change as a marriage maybe deteriorates, or what the process is and how time impacts that. So some of the research questions would be, how does a family change as their children age? What are the stages a family experiences throughout their lifespan? So it's very much rooted in psychology and a little bit of sociology, but more so psychology, because it's talking about the life changes and the impacts that those have. So that's both a macro and a micro perspective, which is, that's obviously better than just either one of the macro or the micro. Okay, now we move on to the symbolic interactionist, and the symbolic interactionist is a micro level, so which means that only individual behaviors are what are concerned here, individual families. So the symbolic interactionist is about how ideas and experiences and different meanings are reinforced together in order to change a family's behavior. So, like, one of the examples of that she gave in her lecture that I watched for you was becoming a step parent reinforces the process. So, like, it just doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and what impacts it, what makes it better, what makes it worse, what stops it, what hijacks it, all different things like that. Some of the weaknesses with this model is that symbols can be interpreted differently by different people. And so then they say that symbols may be interpreted incorrectly with not efficacy of what was intended. And then there's the quantification may be difficult. And also it discounts the macro. It's really not taking into impact the society levels. So those are the main criticisms of that. Okay, Marcio, so just to review, you've got the three sets of family systems theory. The micro set would be the symbolic interaction, the family systems, and the social exchange theory. Then the next one that you have is the macro level, which only takes into account the society roles. And so you're talking about the structural, functional, theoretical perspectives and the conflict theory perspectives. And then also, then there's the one that has both of them, which is the macro and the micro. And those are the ecological, which is Jerry Bronfenbrenner, and the developmental, how things change over time. And then also the feminist model, how like gender and how equality and different things like that play into the family.